How is it going, guys? Drew Peacock here, back with another video, and today we have Tuner Talk, where I answer your guys' car related questions and try to help you guys out if you're in a little bit of a predicament or you just want to know something about me. Today the background footage will be me just cruising around in the Nissan 200SX. It was mine. It is currently my girlfriend's, but she leaves it at my house, so I still kind of think of it as mine. It's my little baby, okay, my little Japanese car, but that is not the new car, and I will not be answering any questions relating to the new car that I am getting. The car should be here late this month or early next month, and I am very excited, and I am not going to spoil it, so shh. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, let's take a look. First question: I am only 14, but I plan on doing all of this stuff to get my driver's license by the time I am 16. I wish I did that. I was wondering what would be a good starter car that is relatively cheap. I'm more into JDM cars, but I like muscle too. I obviously haven't settled on anything yet because I don't even have a permit, but when I do get it, I would like to have some cars that would be good options for me to get, or at least to start with. Thanks, I love your videos, keep up the great work. So I always get this question and I always answer it, but I will give you a quick answer. So relatively cheap, fun tuner cars or JDM cars, whatever you want to call them, I would recommend, depending on your size, maybe the Mazda Miata NA or NB. Those are two very fun cars. You can have a lot of fun with them with low horsepower, and they don't really cost a whole lot. Honda Civics, even as stupid as they sound, Honda Civic SIs, you can make those pretty fun cars. Acura Integras, same thing. Very just fun, cheap cars. I obviously don't know your budget, but those are probably the three cheapest JDM cars I can think of. Yeah, I mean, they're relatively fun cars if you do the right stuff to them. Question: I'm from SoCal, and since we have so much free time lately, I'm trying to get more into the car scene, but it's hard to find people around here that go to meets. My question for you is, how do people in LA area get involved into street culture without friends in the car culture? That's a pretty good one. So if you're the only one of your friends, or you just don't have friends in the car scene, if you're the only one and you're trying to get into it, I mean, one thing you can do is just go to meets. I've made a lot of friends just pulling up to meets, and then they just come up to me and talk to me about my car, and then we just exchange info. I've made a bunch of friends that way. And I still talk to them today, actually. Like, I pulled up to a meet a couple months ago, and this guy, like, straight up was asking me if I wanted to race, and we were talking about cars, and he was talking about how he's building a 2J S14 and all of that stuff. And, you know, me and him, we talk a lot now, and we're cool. And honestly, if you just go to car meets and you pull up and people start talking to you, just be friendly, and you can make some friends. It's not that bad. It's not that hard. The only problem is, nowadays, with this whole virus thing going around, it's a little bit harder to go to car meets, and I'd recommend you stay inside until this goes away. But yeah, just go to car meets and just, you know, be willing to talk to people. Tuner Talk: Hey Drew, I just got my first car, which is an 05 WRX wagon. Sweet, for a great deal. I can't decide if I want to lift or lower it on some coilovers. I live in Tennessee, and there are plenty of places to do Rally X or off-road racing, but I don't know if that's a good idea. If you had a WRX, also considering this is my first experience with a car, what would you do? You are my favorite YouTuber, and I'm loving the content. Thank you. If I had a WRX personally, and if I planned on racing it, I would do coils. I don't know about off-road racing too much. I'm not going to sit here and just give you false info, but I would, for street racing and for road racing, I would do coils just because I trust them more. I've heard incidences where bags pop. If you're on the freeway and your bag pops, and I know it's probably rare, but it happens. It can happen. If that happens, I mean, you pretty much lose all of that suspension on that side. I've heard of people messing up their frame that way. I'm not trying to freak you guys out, but if you plan on doing some actual racing, I would recommend coils, or look on forums and see what they say. But if you're talking about racing, I would recommend, I would just recommend coils. Car related question: should I put a cardboard body kit on my mom's minivan? Of course, she'll love you forever. I would recommend doing that right now. Stop watching this video and go outside and do it. Okay, here we go. Next question. So I have a 1986 Lincoln Mark VII. I think Mark 8. As you may know or not know, it has a 4.6 liter V8, and I want to mod it, but I don't know if modding a 4.6 would be worth it. It's making 280 horsepower right now, but I want to get it to at least 400. Oof. So depending on what it has, which 4.6 it has, if it's a 1986, it might have the 2-valve, maybe, I'm not sure. I'm not huge on Lincolns, but I know they're just a Ford company. It might have a 2-valve, and to get it to 400, that's kind of like the limit. You'd have to boost it. It's up to you. Honestly, I would get into a more modern platform, like a Mustang of some sort. I'm sure you can sell your Lincoln and get into an actual 2-valve. That way, the 400 horsepower on the 2-valve would feel like 400 horsepower compared to a boat like a Lincoln. So it's up to you, but I think if you're going to be modding a car to go fast, I would at least mod a car that's meant to go fast. That's just me. You can do it, but you're going to have to supercharge it pretty much, long story short. Question, is it worth putting a Pro Charger on a Crown Vic? And what do you think about Crown Vics in general? Okay, this is a pretty cool question. Putting a blower, a centrifugal supercharger, a supercharger in general, or a turbo on a Crown Vic would be pretty sick. If you try to make it look like a cop car and you do that, and you're driving behind me on the freeway, I hate you. But no, honestly, making a little sleeper build out of a Crown Vic is pretty cool. You know, you've seen some other big YouTubers do stuff like that, and it's pretty sick. Crown Vics, I mean, they're police cars. You can make them badass. And would I recommend doing that? I mean, if I was building a Crown Vic, sure, why not? What do I think about Crown Vics in general? I mean, they're cop cars. I hate when people are driving them around me because I can't tell if it's a cop or not. But, I mean, as a car scene car, I mean, they're pretty cool. They have a V8, so they're not that bad. Here we go. Would you ever do a truck build, off-roading build, or a drag build? Okay, yeah, if I did a truck build, it would for sure be for off-roading. And I would either do a Tacoma or a Raptor. Obviously, one is if I'm making good money, and one of them is making okay money. But yeah, I would for sure do an off-road build with that. I've been wanting to do that, but I'm too addicted to going fast, so I haven't had the time. Drew, would you recommend a 3rd gen Prelude as a good first project car, getting it from a family member, or wait and buy something like an SN95 Mustang GT? It all just depends what you're into. I mean, you're getting the Prelude for free, it sounds like. I would honestly just milk it and just use the car as a car and then save up for something you actually want to build. A lot of people, they get stuck building a car that they just have. And it's like you can work towards getting the car that you want and just save your money and milk that car. You don't have to modify every car. Like if you're a car guy, you don't have to modify every car. The 200SX out there is still stock. I haven't done shit to it. Does it mean I'm not a car guy? No, it means that we're just using it as a daily. Perfect for that. I still pull up the car meets in it every once in a while, but yeah, you don't have to modify it if you don't want to. If you're looking to buy an SN95, then I would just milk the shit out of the Prelude, get your money's worth out of it, and then buy the Mustang. And then you'll have a good daily too if your Mustang ever breaks down, which God knows it will. I'm joking. My Mustang's been pretty reliable. Hey Drew, pretty big fan. Here's some questions for you. All right, we got 4 of them. Do you think muscle cars are dying in the car scene? Okay, this is a pretty good question. I feel like muscle cars get a lot of unneeded hate. I don't know why. They're fast cars and they're great platforms to start on, but I feel like JDM people just automatically talk shit about them. But then again, muscle car people automatically talk shit. I mean, it's just a rivalry. It's just a rivalry. I don't think they're dying anytime soon. I mean, if you look at the new Mustang, I mean, the new A10 transmission, ridiculous. The new Z01, ridiculous. The new C8 Corvette, I mean, I don't think they're dying, but there's just rivalries here and there. Do you prefer an old school car versus a car with newer tech? Ooh, I don't know. It depends. Honestly, I don't really care too much about technology in a car. You know, I'm planning on kind of gutting my Mustang once I get my new car. I'm take out everything else that I already haven't taken out, like the AC and maybe even the radio. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to gain too much weight reduction if I just take out the radio. But honestly, tech doesn't really matter for me. I like some things, but I don't really care. When would you say your Mustang is finished? Oh, that's the thing. With a project car, they're never finished. I'm thinking it's finished now, but I already know eventually I'm going to add more power. And if you and that dude in blue raced, who do you think would win? I'm not sure how much power he's making. If he's making more than 800, then he'd win. But it all just depends. I don't know how much power he's making, though. Hey, Drew, what mods or any accessories for your car can we not use because it'll make us a ricer? So I think what he's asking is pretty much, what are ricer mods? What should we stay away from? And a lot of people get confused and they think wings automatically make you rice, which is not true. They think louvers or any little things that you add to your car that make it not stock make it rice, it's not true. A ricer mod is something that makes you look faster that doesn't benefit anything to your car. There's things that are cosmetic enhancements such as louvers, but they're not necessarily ricer mods. If you go and put louvers on a stock Honda Accord and you spray paint shit red, yeah, that's a ricer. But if you're putting louvers on a 350Z that has, engine mods and a wheel setup and stuff like that, it doesn't mean it's a ricer. And I get a lot of people like sending me cars like, look at this ricer, and it's like a stock STI. It's like, dude, that's stock. Like the wing comes stock like that. So I would just stay away from stuff that makes you look faster that doesn't actually do anything. Here's a good question. Did you not like Camaros when you worked at Chevrolet? No, I liked Camaros. I had a lot of fun driving the Camaros when I worked there. I loved driving them, the Corvettes and all that stuff. The only thing is they were like work to me. Like it was my work to drive them. And so when I was driving them, it was fun and it was a benefit, but I didn't want to drive one to work and drive one back from work at the same time. So I did have my fun with them, and they are great platforms. The 6th gen Camaros, I mean, they're one of the greater cars. I don't like how they look now, but the early 6th gen Camaros, they were nice. I love those. And you can have a lot of fun in those cars. but I just prefer Mustangs. Camaros have really small cabin areas and really bad visibility. But other than that, I mean, they're really fun cars. Hey Drew, I have a 2007 Mustang GT and I've done a lot of mods with it, and now I'm at the point of cams. Are bigger cams worth it? Is the power worth the price? Are they something I need in order to continue modding? Thank you. So cams are a really tricky situation. I don't know your full build. If you're an NA car, you can gain some torque with cams, but then you have to be very specific with your build. There are blower cams, there are NA cams. It all just depends. So with my car, I needed to go cams because I needed to get stiffer springs. So while I was in there, I might as well just toss in some cams. That way I can turn up the boost on my car. And I also gained a good amount of torque and power from doing cams. I lost low end torque, but I gained a lot of top end, which was great. If you're keeping your car at NA and you never plan on boosting it, you could do cams. But if you do cams for an NA car and you use NA cams, then it really kind of screws you over if you eventually want to boost it. It all just depends where you're at. Don't get cams that just sound cool. Get cams that actually function. There are a lot of cams for Mustangs that just make them sound like hot rods, which is cool, but at the same time, you're not gaining much. You're spending like 2K, 3K, and you're just making it sound like it chops more, which is cool, but I wouldn't recommend that. If you're going to do cams, I would get some actual aggressive cams and gain some actual power, but it all just depends on if you plan on boosting it or not. Again, I don't know your car. Here we go. I'll do 2 more questions. Are you nervous to start driving a right-hand drive car? A little bit, but not really. I think it'll be fun. It'll be some good content for sure. Next question. I have a 2013 Camaro SS, and I was wondering if I should run wider tires, like around 305. My second question is, what kind of brakes would you recommend? Love your vids. Keep it up. So a lot of people love just tossing big tires on cars that don't need it. It depends. If you're slipping, then yes, I would run wider tires or a more aggressive compound. But you can see a lot of fast cars at drag strips running like 275 on a slick. Like, you don't need a fat tire to hook. It depends on your setup and it depends on what kind of power you're making, but you don't need a fat tire unless you're making fat tire power. If you're just getting a fat tire to look fat, you're going to slow yourself down, actually. But that all just depends on your build. What kind of brakes would you recommend? A lot of people like tossing huge brakes at their car, and you don't really need it unless you're really aggressive on the track. It depends on what kind of driving you're doing. If you're doing road courses, then yes, I would recommend a big brake kit because it will really help with cooling and dissipating the heat. But if you're doing street racing, road racing, or drag racing, you don't really need aggressive brakes because you're stopping once and then you're going, and then you're stopping once and then you're going. Like, you have a lot of time to cool down the brakes. So I'm making a lot of power and I don't have a big brake kit. I just have aggressive pads and slotted rotors, and that's it. So it all just depends on what you're doing. A lot of these questions all just depend on what you're doing, I guess. But I try to help. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up this video right here. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a thumbs up. Comment down below some answers to these questions. Maybe people can get other insights in the comments. Until next video, peace.